The Money Order. Chapter 1. A Surprise Letter. Elena lived in a small village in the mountains. She was a kind woman with gray hair and bright eyes. Her husband, Javier, was a strong man who loved to work in the fields. They had a daughter named Maria. Maria moved to the city 2 years ago to find work. One sunny morning, a traveling merchant came to the village. He was carrying a big bag with letters and packages. Elena saw him and waved. "Good morning, sir," Elena said with a smile. "Good morning, ma'am," the merchant replied. "I have a letter for you." "A letter for me?" Elena asked, surprised. "Yes," the merchant said. "Is your name Elena?" "Yes, I am Elena," she replied. The merchant handed her the letter. Elena looked at the envelope. It said, "Elena of Mountain Village," and was from Maria. Elena's heart began to beat faster. She had not heard from Maria in many months. "Javier! Javier!" Elena called her husband. Javier came out of the house. "What is it, Elena?" he asked. "We have a letter from Maria," Elena said, holding up the envelope. Javier's eyes widened. "From Maria? Is she okay? What does it say?" "I don't know. I cannot read well," Elena said. "We need the village teacher." The village teacher, Mr. Lopez, was a kind old man. He had taught many children in the village. Elena and Javier went to his house and knocked on the door. "Mr. Lopez, can you help us?" Elena asked when he opened the door. "Of course, Elena. What do you need?" Mr. Lopez asked with a gentle smile. "We have a letter from Maria. Can you read it for us?" Elena said, handing him the letter. Mr. Lopez put on his glasses and opened the envelope. He began to read. "Dear Mother and Father, I am living in the city. I have a job in a factory. The work is hard, but I am well. I am sending you $50 in this letter. This money is for you. Love, Maria." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "Maria is working hard, but she still thinks of us," she said softly. Javier hugged Elena. "She is a good daughter," he said. "We are lucky." Elena looked at the money order that was in the envelope. "What is this, Mr. Lopez?" she asked. "This is a money order," Mr. Lopez explained. "You can take it to the bank in the city and get the money." Elena felt happy but also worried. She had never been to the city before. "How will we get to the city?" she asked Javier. "We will find a way," Javier said confidently. "We must go and get the money Maria sent." That evening, Elena and Javier sat outside their house, thinking about Maria and their journey to the city. They felt proud of their daughter and hopeful for the future. "We will go to the city tomorrow," Javier said. "We will get the money and buy what we need for our farm." Elena nodded. "Yes, we will go. For Maria." She held Javier's hand and looked at the stars, feeling grateful for her family and their love. Chapter 2. Elena's Journey to the City. The next morning, Elena woke up early. The sun was not up yet, and the village was quiet. She felt excited and nervous. Today, she and Javier were going to the city. "Javier, wake up," Elena whispered. "It's time to go." Javier opened his eyes and smiled. "Good morning, Elena. Let's get ready." Elena put on her best dress, and Javier wore his best shirt. They packed some bread and cheese for the journey. Elena put the money order carefully in her pocket. "Are you ready, Elena?" Javier asked. "Yes, I am ready," Elena replied. "Let's go." They walked down the mountain path. The air was cool, and the birds were singing. Elena felt happy to be with Javier. After 2 hours, they reached the main road. They waited for the bus to the city. "The bus will be here soon," Javier said. Elena nodded. She felt a little scared. "I have never been to the city," she said quietly. "Don't worry, Elena. I am with you," Javier said, holding her hand. After a while, the bus arrived. It was big and noisy. Elena and Javier got on the bus and sat down. The bus started moving, and Elena looked out of the window. She saw many trees, houses, and people. The journey took 2 hours. Finally, they arrived in the city. The city was very big and busy. There were many people, cars, and tall buildings. Elena felt a little lost. "Where is the bank?" Elena asked. "We will find it," Javier said. "Let's ask someone." They saw a policeman standing on the corner. Javier walked up to him. "Excuse me, sir. Can you tell us where the bank is?" Javier asked. The policeman smiled. "Yes, the bank is down this street, on the left," he said. "Thank you very much," Javier replied. Elena and Javier walked to the bank. The bank was big and had many people inside. Elena felt nervous again. They stood in line and waited their turn. Finally, they reached the counter. "Hello," Javier said to the bank clerk. "We have a money order for cash." The clerk looked at the money order. "Do you have identification?" he asked. Elena looked confused. "What is identification?" she asked. "An identification card, with your photo and name," the clerk explained. Elena and Javier looked at each other. "We don't have identification cards," Javier said. The clerk shook his head. "I'm sorry, but we need identification to give you the money." Elena felt sad. "What can we do?" she asked Javier. "We need to get identification cards," Javier said. "Let's find out how." They left the bank and walked down the street. They saw a small office with a sign that said, "Identification Office." They went inside and talked to the man at the counter. "How can we get identification cards?" Javier asked. "You need to fill out this form and bring 3 photos of yourself," the man said. "Come back tomorrow with the form and photos." Elena felt tired and worried. "We have to come back tomorrow," she said to Javier. Javier nodded. "Yes, we will come back. Let's find a place to take photos." They walked around the city and found a photo shop. The photographer took their pictures and said, "Come back tomorrow to get your photos." Elena and Javier were tired. They went to a small park and sat on a bench. "We have to stay in the city tonight," Javier said. "We can go back to the village tomorrow." Elena sighed. "I miss our village, but we have to do this for Maria," she said. "Yes, for Maria," Javier agreed. As the sun set, they found a small inn to stay the night. Elena missed home, but knew this journey was important. She held Javier's hand and tried to stay positive. Tomorrow, they would get their identification cards and the money Maria sent. Chapter 3. Seeking Identification. The next morning, Elena and Javier woke up early. They felt rested and ready to continue their journey. Elena was determined to get the identification cards and the money Maria had sent. "Javier, let's go get our photos," Elena said. "Yes, let's go," Javier replied. They left the inn and walked to the photo shop. The photographer greeted them with a smile. "Good morning. Your photos are ready," he said, handing them the pictures. "Thank you," Elena said, taking the photos. Next, they went to the identification office. The same man was there at the counter. "Good morning," Javier said. "We have the photos and the form." The man looked at the form and the photos. "Everything looks good. Please pay $2 and come back tomorrow for your identification cards," he said. "Tomorrow?" Elena asked, feeling worried. "We need the money today." The man shook his head. "I'm sorry. It takes 1 day to make the cards." Elena and Javier looked at each other. "We have no choice," Javier said. "We will come back tomorrow." They paid the money and left the office. Elena felt disappointed. "What will we do today?" she asked. "Let's explore the city a little," Javier suggested. "We can see new things and maybe find something nice for Maria." Elena smiled. "That sounds good." They walked around the city. They saw tall buildings, busy streets, and many shops. They visited a park with beautiful flowers and sat on a bench to rest. "This city is very different from our village," Elena said. "Yes, it is," Javier agreed. "But it's nice to see new places." They found a small market and bought a pretty scarf for Maria. Elena held the scarf and thought of her daughter. "Maria will like this," she said. As the day went on, Elena and Javier felt tired. They returned to the inn and had a simple dinner. Elena thought about Maria and the money they needed. "I hope everything goes well tomorrow," Elena said. "Me too," Javier replied. "We will get the identification cards and then go to the bank." The next morning, Elena and Javier went back to the identification office. The man at the counter smiled and handed them their new identification cards. "Here you go," he said. Elena looked at her card. It had her photo, name, and address. She felt relieved and happy. "Thank you," she said. Javier took his card and smiled. "Now we can go to the bank." They walked quickly to the bank. Elena felt nervous. They stood in line and waited their turn. Finally, they reached the counter. "Hello," Javier said. "We have our identification cards now. Can we cash the money order?" The clerk took their identification cards and the money order. He looked at them carefully. "Everything is in order," the clerk said. "Here is your money." Elena and Javier felt a huge relief. The clerk handed them the money, and Elena smiled. "Thank you so much," she said. They left the bank, feeling happy and proud. "We did it, Javier. We got the money for Maria," Elena said. "Yes, we did," Javier replied. "Now we can go back to the village." As they walked to the bus station, Elena thought about their journey. It had been difficult, but they had succeeded. She felt grateful for Javier's support and for the help of the kind people they had met. They got on the bus and started their journey back to the village. Elena looked out of the window and smiled. She was excited to tell Maria about their adventure and to use the money to make their lives better. Chapter 4. Returning Home. Elena and Javier were on the bus back to their village. Elena felt happy and excited. She looked at the money in her hands and thought about how it would help them. "Javier, we did it!" Elena said with a big smile. "Yes, Elena. Maria will be so proud of us," Javier replied. The bus ride was long, but Elena didn't mind. She thought about all the things they could buy for the farm and their home. They could get new tools, better seeds, and maybe even a new dress for Maria. After a few hours, the bus stopped at the main road near their village. Elena and Javier got off the bus and started walking. The sun was shining, and the birds were singing. It felt like a perfect day. As they walked, they saw some villagers working in the fields. Elena waved to them. "Hello, everyone. We are back," Elena called out. The villagers came over to them. "Elena, Javier, how was your trip to the city?" one of the villagers asked. "It was a long journey, but we got the money," Javier said proudly. "That's wonderful news," the village teacher, Mr. Lopez, said. "Tell us all about it." Elena and Javier told the villagers about their trip. They talked about the bank, the identification cards, and the money order. Everyone listened with great interest. "You did a great job," Mr. Lopez said. "Maria will be very happy." "Yes, she will," Elena said. "We bought a pretty scarf for her, too." Elena and Javier continued walking to their house. When they arrived, they saw Maria waiting outside. She ran to them with a big smile. "Mother, Father, you are back," Maria said, hugging them. "Yes, Maria, we missed you," Elena said, hugging her daughter tightly. "Did you get the money?" Maria asked. "Yes, we did," Javier said, showing her the money. "Thank you so much. I know it was hard for you to go to the city." "We did it for you, Maria. We are proud of you," Elena said. That evening, Elena and Javier had a big dinner with Maria and the villagers. "With this money, we can improve the farm," Javier said. "We can buy new tools and seeds." "Yes, and we can also save some money for emergencies," Elena added. Maria looked at her parents with gratitude. "I am so lucky to have you both. Thank you for everything." Elena smiled and held Maria's hand. "We are a family, and we always help each other." As the night went on, everyone felt happy and content. Elena looked around at her family and friends. She felt grateful for their support and love. "This journey taught me a lot," Elena thought. "We faced many challenges, but we did not give up. We did it together. The next morning, Elena woke up early. She looked at the beautiful scarf they had bought for Maria and smiled. Today is a new beginning, Elena said to herself. With this money, we can make our lives better. We can build a brighter future for our family. Elena and Javier went outside to start their day. They felt ready to work hard and make the most of the money they had received. They knew that with determination and love, they could overcome any challenge. Chapter 5. A New Beginning. The next morning, Elena woke up with a smile. She felt happy and ready to start the day. The sun was shining and the birds were singing. She looked over at Javier, who was still asleep. "Javier, wake up," Elena whispered softly. "It's time to start our day." Javier opened his eyes and smiled at Elena. "Good morning, Elena. Let's get to work." They both got dressed and went outside. The village was already awake. People were busy with their morning chores. Elena and Javier felt proud to be part of such a hard-working community. Maria came out of the house with a big smile on her face. She was wearing the new scarf they had bought for her in the city. "Good morning, Mother and Father," Maria said cheerfully. "Thank you again for the beautiful scarf. I love it." "We are glad you like it, Maria," Elena said, hugging her daughter. "Now, let's make the most of this money your hard work has sent us." Elena, Javier, and Maria started planning what they needed for the farm. They made a list of tools, seeds, and other supplies. "We need new shovels and a plow," Javier said, writing it down, "and better seeds for the next planting season." "Yes, and some new clothes for everyone," Maria added. Elena nodded. "And we should save some money for emergencies," she said. The villagers were excited to hear about Elena and Javier's plans. They all wanted to help. "Let's go to the market together," Mr. Lopez suggested. "We can get the best prices if we buy in bulk." "That's a great idea," Javier said. "Thank you, Mr. Lopez." They all went to the market together. Elena felt happy and excited. She knew that with the help of the villagers, they could buy everything they needed. At the market, they bought new tools, seeds, and some clothes. Elena also found a beautiful dress for herself and a new shirt for Javier. Maria picked out a few things she liked as well. "This is perfect," Elena said, looking at their purchases. "We have everything we need." When they returned to the village, everyone helped carry the supplies. They worked together to unload everything and put it away. "Thank you, everyone," Elena said. "We couldn't have done this without your help." "We are happy to help," Mr. Lopez said. "We are a community, and we support each other." That evening, Elena and Javier sat outside their house. They looked at the new tools and supplies they had bought. They felt proud and grateful. "We did it, Elena," Javier said. "We have everything we need to make our farm better." "Yes, we did," Elena replied. "And we have Maria to thank for it." Maria came outside and joined them. "I am so happy we could do this together," she said. "We are proud of you, Maria," Elena said. "You worked hard, and your money helped us a lot." Javier nodded. "We are a strong family, and we always help each other." As the sun set, they sat together and talked about their plans for the future. They felt hopeful and excited about the days ahead. "This is just the beginning," Elena said. "With hard work and love, we can achieve anything." "Yes," Javier agreed. "We are a family, and we will always support each other." Maria smiled. "I love you, Mother and Father." "We love you too, Maria," Elena said, hugging her daughter. As the stars came out, they felt a deep sense of peace and happiness. They knew that with their hard work and the support of their community, they could build a bright and beautiful future together. The end. The story is aligned with the A1 level of the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, CFR, which is the beginner level. Here are 5 phrases from the story, explained with their meanings, examples from the story, and examples from real life. 1. Identification card, ID card. Meaning, an official card with your name, photo, and other personal information. It is used to prove who you are. Example from the story. You need to fill out this form and bring 3 photos of yourself, the man said. Come back tomorrow with the form and photos. Example in real life. When you go to the bank to open an account, you need to show your identification card. 2. Money order. Meaning, a certificate that allows the person named on it to receive a specified amount of money. It is often used to send money safely. Example from the story. We have our identification cards now. Can we cash the money order? Example in real life. If you need to send money to a friend in another city, you might use a money order. 3. Photograph. Meaning, a picture taken with a camera. Example from the story. The photographer took their pictures and said, "Come back tomorrow to get your photos." Example in real life. When you travel to a new place, you might take many photographs to remember your trip. 4. Village. Meaning, a small community or group of houses in a rural area. Example from the story. Elena lived in a small village in the mountains. Example in real life. My grandparents live in a village where everyone knows each other, and there are many farms. 5. Market. Meaning, a place where people buy and sell goods such as food, clothes, and other products. Example from the story. They all went to the market together. Elena felt happy and excited. Example in real life. Every Saturday, I go to the market to buy fresh vegetables and fruits. Here are 3 things the reader can learn from the story. 1. The importance of perseverance. 2. The power of community support. 3. The value of family. This story and voiceover have been provided by English Made Easy. Learn through stories. Copying or re-uploading is strictly prohibited.